Hello, welcome to another episode in the MotorHouse for the 1977 Lotus 7 Series 4. Today I am working on getting the engine and transmission out. So some of these things are for me for future when I go to put it back together. Namely, let's see, throttle return spring hooks on here, hooks on to where the throttle cable comes in, and this line here, I believe, I won't know for sure till I get the engine out and check the line to the back, but I think this was for a breather for the fuel tank, and it was connected to, let's say, this line. I think it was connected in there somehow to this line, which would then go into the carbs. Heater valve removed off the block. Also the vacuum to the distributor capsule was off, so don't know if that had problems in running. And I will say that the distributor is way off from where it should normally sit. The clip for the cap is way buried underneath, very difficult to get to, so that'll have to be corrected. Let's see, let's go around. So I do have the hoist set up right now. What's left is the front crossbar and the engine mounts. That's really all that's left to get this thing up and out. And what I did is, let's see, the top here, bolt for the transmission engine connection, that is where the heater control mounts to. So all I did was replace that with a bar that I could hook a chain to. That seemed to be kind of the best way. And then I ran, as I have done before with the 907 the Elite, ran a strap all the way around the bottom of the motor, came up and pulling this point. In order to cinch the strap up, I use this as a point to anchor it. So really it's pulling from here, and this is just doubling it back. It doesn't weigh that much, the engine and transmission, and the whole car weighs about 1,300 pounds, so the engine and transmission does not weigh much. Alright, so that's my basic setup, and I will continue on. The engine's currently sitting on in the lift on its points. I have pulled out the engine mounts. Now, the best way to get to them is straight down on both sides. Next, I'm going to remove the actual brackets for the engine mounts, and that will give me more room. The engine and transmission are now totally supported by the lift. I have removed the engine mounts, and a note, see if we can sit down there. This mount on the right had two washers, one put in afterwards and one that was there, but you see the collapsed nature. I'll get a better close-up when I remove it later. But were the washers put in because it was collapsed, or were they originally in because of alignment? Don't know. But the other side did not have two washers. So I'll get around here. The other side didn't have a washer at all. How's that? But now everything is suspended, and I got to put the phone down because I got to concentrate on getting the engine out. The engine is just clearing the front cross member on the bottom, and the rear is still sitting, sorry, the back of the transmission, the mount is still sitting on its brace in the back. So I have about another inch or so to come, and then that will be free, and I'm sure that it's going to want to See what I can do. I'm going to raise it up a little bit more. I have room. If you notice the tunnel here, I do have room, but it is a tight fit to get it back in there. And I'm sure getting it on back in will mean being under the car to position the tail shaft up onto its mount while getting the engine in. But it seems a little easier than the Elite. Of course, there's a lot more room here than putting it in an Elite. This is the angle that it needs to come out. It had some critters that made a home on top of it at one time. But let's see if I can get this. The crossbar underneath, you have to have enough angle to get the front of the oil pan to clear that cross member. And if you don't have the engine mounts off, the brackets, then you can't clear the steering rack or some other things there. But this gives a good idea of how far I have to have it up. And a note that we're seeing the shifter mechanism for the first time coming out, and it likes to snag a lot of the cabling and pipes and all that go down through the center tunnel there. So that's a little tricky to get out, to get that to clear. But it is coming up and coming out. The engine and transmission are free of the car. So totally supported by the lift. And there's a good shot of the adapter. A little different than the photos I had, and I think the photos might be the later ones, but that is the adapter. Some things might be interesting on it to figure out, but because I want to rebuild. I can already see some of that plastic has deteriorated, the little ball, and that's going to get rebuilt with a new shifter piece, which I can still get new. At least we'll say the basic parts of that. For future me putting this thing in, the crank handle, put it on the other end. It interferes on the angle with that chain. So for future me, that's what I gotta do. Engine and transmission are officially out of the car. Stabilized sitting there. That's a good shot of the adapter for shifting. And the mount for the transmission down there, which you have to figure that one out. Doesn't look like anything normal that I've seen on others. I did find, let's see if I go back through this, I did find two washers that were actually two of the add-on washers, so a total of three were on that. There's one more on the ground. There we go, down there. I don't know what that bracket is, but we'll get into all that at another point. So you have to take off the mounting arms for the engine mounts. You have to take the arms off the block because you're not going to be able to clear this because it goes underneath the steering, and it's better over here with this bar to get it. I will say that's not bad. Just what hangs up in the tunnel, the things that are back under there, the cables and all, maybe I'll have to find a nice way to make sure they're attached and gets out of the way of the next one. Or maybe you put a sleeve or something over it, slide it back in there. Oh, they're options. Things to do. If I hadn't said before, I did take off the bracket, say the mounts for the transmission. I'll go right back over here to that mount. There are two bolts that come up from a cross member that hold it on. And it had some critters that thought it was a good place to store some food at one point. Alright, so I think I'm going to end this video here. The engine and transmission are out, and now it's a matter of just getting the two of them split up and set up for more for both of them being checked out. All right, take care from the Motor House.